Have you not listened to episode 9? It's with my old buddy Kevin Lawler. Okay, after you listen to this episode, go download it and take a listen. That's right. Download it. Episode 9. Now here's a clip.
That he could, he could back up being, this Olympic gold medalist. So they wanted to stick him in there with somebody that could really go toe to toe with him. And heck, man, when you talk about, is almost a Hall of Famer, almost Olympic gold medalist, man, the Yellow Jacket definitely comes to mind. Anyway.
You're right. Yeah, you're right about that.
No, I think it was one of those things, seriously, where they not trying to put myself over or nothing like that, but I think they probably just knew that, Kurt was really limited at the time. Just really, really green, couldn't hardly do nothing. And they just wanted somebody that I guess they felt, safe with, that could go out there and just do the basics with him. And realistically, all we did was, they came to me and said, hey, this is all it's got to be. We were going to, we lock up. I basically, give him an arm drag out of the lockup. I kind of, celebrate like, woohoo, I got over on this guy. And then I turn around and he just gives me a belly. And, that was it. Because that's about all he could do back then, And that was the whole match, And, look where he is now.
Yeah, at that
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
Episode 59, live from STS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. I want to thank everyone. I didn't do this last episode because it was the special Lance Russell episode, but we broke all kinds of records there in September. Thank everyone. Thank Bob McGee for helping out Gene Jackson, my old buddy Lance Levine. And thanks to everyone that plugs the Suplex City Limits, Creative Control there, JoJo, and everyone that tells a friend about us. Apparently, we're growing, and I appreciate that. I know there's lots of podcasts out there, and I appreciate you being able to listen to us. And since we only had one episode last week, and it was on Thursday, we have an episode today, Tuesday. Tomorrow is Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever? It will be the episode where Golden Boy comes in with another challenger. And then this Thursday, there's a special episode, the special episode on Thursday of the Cool Kids Countdown. So 3 episodes this week, and I hope you enjoy them all. I'm not going to take up any more of your time except one thing. Follow us on Twitter at Comic Book Mark BT, or you can follow us on Instagram, BT Shootin with IN The Shiznit. That's right. And you can listen to us on iTunes. You can listen to us on Stitcher, Player FM, Pod Paradise, Spreaker, and on iTunes. I want to ask everyone that listens to it, and I know there's about 25 to 30% of you guys that are listening to it with iTunes, go and write a review. Thank you, Ed, for writing that review. I appreciate it. Now, no further ado. Here we go with the new episode. From the green room. It's Scott Bowden. I know you go Travis Scott Bowden, but I don't know Travis. I know it's one of those special spy episodes of something that you did out there in California. You're a California guy now, right?
That's right. I live right outside Beverly Hills, and as you can imagine, the entire community is still pretty shaken up over the recent passing of our resident Bobby Heenan. But we're pressing on through. That's shoot. I live about 10 minutes outside of Beverly Hills. Really more toward, I guess Fairfax Village, kind of a central point of Los Angeles, right across from where, Rod Serling used to write all the Twilight Zone episodes. So I I was a big Twilight Zone fan growing up.
Me too, big Twilight Zone fan. I even bought a book that had all the episodes, told you the whole cast, the whole 9 yards. So that's how big of a nerd I was on that. Me and you tried to get together last week a couple of times and didn't know it was going to be as hard for us to do it. On Monday, as you said, the shit hit the fan and we missed out. And then on Tuesday morning, we got up, both of us getting up to some bad, horrible news. And was not able, and then I wasn't ready to talk about it on Wednesday, but I think I should open the show up and let's just talk about that a little bit. And you just told, because we did a special episode Thursday, but you were there. You as big a fan as I was, grew up watching wrestling. No one, unless they grew up in that area, really understands what we're talking about. But I'll give you, just tell us what Lance meant to you.
Oh my gosh, it really did feel like a death in the family. And when I spoke to you, I didn't speak to you. The reason I didn't speak to you on Monday, as scheduled, I knew Lance was in pretty bad shape, and I just I knew it wouldn't be long, and I just didn't feel like talking, And then I woke up Tuesday and got the news. And I, even though I knew it was coming, I'd been sort of texting with Shane Russell, Lance's son, who's a very, very kind man. And he was being optimistic as he could, it sounds like he's a pretty tough character. And was just encouraging me to, pray if that's my thing, send positive vibes, or just keep his at it in my thoughts, and that's exactly what I did. Lance has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks now. I'm just now kind of getting over that point of grieving and really just kind of celebrating now, I guess, the life that he had and the incredible career that he had, along with Dave Brown, and then, of course, a short stint in WCW. But primarily, he'll always be known as the voice of Memphis Wrestling.
I agree 100%. I said what I had to say Thursday, and I feel better now. Like you said, it seems like a week's went by, and we're able to be able to talk about it. He was a major part of my childhood. Not that I only met him very few times. I thought it was really interesting and a new observer that Meltzer made a point that, and I remember someone else telling me this story and it may have been Dave earlier, that when Lance went to WCW, people were coming up to him like crazy, wanting to get their picture taken with him and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And he didn't understand all of that.
Yeah.
We were watching, that everyone outside, like Memphis. If I have Memphis Wrestling on a VHS, I was the man. I mean, I traded with everybody. If I had two video recorders, I could get anything I wanted for Memphis Wrestling because everyone wanted to see it.
Sure. Yeah.
So he didn't understand that. He didn't understand how big he was until he realized, hey, all these people are actually watching me, not just the people in Memphis.
Well, yeah, and that's the days before YouTube. I mean. And, this was old school stuff. I remember there was a little old lady named Ann who lived next door to me, and bless her heart. I mean, I loved watching wrestling with her because she would react to everything. If you even insinuated, her husband would try to insinuate that it was fake or predetermined or whatever, and boy, she would let him have it. And she saw an ad, a guy in Pittsburgh named John Lanigan, who was actually a well-known tape trader.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he wanted somebody to tape the Memphis shows for him, and he said that he would send me tapes from all over. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. I'd never seen any Japan stuff, and boy, that opened my eyes. And I'd never seen much Florida. Memphis was getting world-class in Mid-Atlantic at that time, but other than that, I had not seen anything else. But the biggest thing that he included, he goes, I thought you might enjoy this, because he knew that I read every magazine, After Magazine or the Wrestling News or the Rings Wrestling, whatever magazine I could get my hands on.
Yeah, just like you.
Yeah, hoping for some kind. As I got older, you kind of realize that probably Jimmy Snuka is not conducting an interview at Wrigley Field with Bill After and and they have to take a break to do the wave and all that kind of stuff. And but you were just hoping for any kind of inside information. And he included 3 copies of the Observer. And they were like third-hand copies. So, and the type was already so small, so I had to take a magnifying glass, and read it. But man, my head nearly exploded. It just opened up this whole new world to me, and it made me more of a super fan.
Me too. I mean, same thing happened to me in '86. I say '86, '85. I think it was Christmas vacation, and I went back to school as a senior. In '85, but it may have been '86. I'm not sure, but I knew everything. I mean, in my mind, all these people were marks, I mentioned this on one of I went to Blythe, Arkansas, every time it was there, and that's when I started in '78. And I think because I sat front row and I was so close to the action that I knew it was a work. I didn't know that's what it was called, but I knew it was a work, but I really didn't care. I enjoyed it. I knew these guys were, after I got the magazines, they're going all over the United States doing the same thing, or all over the South, and so it couldn't be, quote unquote real, but I didn't understand it. And I was like you, as soon as I got the Observer, and someone sent it to me because I hated Flair at the time. I was actually typing a letter where I said, man, I can't believe, they did that to Dusty and blah, 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 and, he sent me the Observer, and from that point on, I was like, "Oh my God!" And been a subscriber forever.
Flair just blatantly, abuses the disqualification rule. It's outrageous. Yeah, you sound like you're really a really smart fan.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I wanted to believe. It was that point to where you. And it's, and Lance said this at our meeting, that convention that they've been talking about, and I've seen it on Twitter, a couple of pictures. That convention was kind of odd because this was the first time that I'd ever been, in front of people like Lance and Lawler. And this was way before, shoot interviews or anything, where they were just open with us. Lance, someone says something about it being fake, and Lance said, well, what I always tell people is I don't know the ending of a movie. So you're not going to know the ending of it, and you just got to keep it safe to your chest kind of thing. So it was almost like you guys know, but don't tell anyone. And then Lawler told us about the Andy Kaufman thing.
Wow.
As if it was a work.
Really? Broke kayfabe with it, huh? Wow.
And none whatsoever. And I was like, and this was before I actually met Lawler, was going backstage and everything, but just as shocked that he would actually say, okay, it was a work, here's how we did it kind of thing.
Yeah. And what year was that?
Man, I'm horrible with the years. I don't even know what year I was born. I just barely do. So.
I think they had one in '84, which I was too young to know about them, but I stopped by the one in '89.
I was there at that one too.
Okay. But I was just Lanigan had come in, and I guess they all went to. I believe they went to a card with Tommy Rich and Lawler headlining.
Right.
If I'm not, which was a tremendous bloodbath. But I kind of wish I had discovered that organization earlier. I think I would have relished being a part of it. And I'm actually friendly now with some of the guys in it, like Pete Letterberg and Howard Baum, who did the infamous Angle.
Right. I wasn't there for that, but that was just one of those days. As soon as I heard about that, there was a wrestling, kind of group that had conventions. I was like, good God, I'd heard of Star Trek conventions back in the day, but at that time, wrestling-wise, there's no idea.
Yeah, usually not a lot of hot chicks at those events, but nevertheless.
Not that we're going to say they're ugly, but we're just saying, no. Hey, go to a con today. Go to a Wizard Con. Man, there's all kinds of hot chicks. So, I can look at them. My wife gives me the right to look at them if they're in some kind of role playing thing. So, I got to at least go and do some research. So,
absolutely. Well, and guys, in Comic-Con, I moved to LA in '98, and Comic-Con has grown so much since that time that I don't even bother going. I mean, I've got connections that I could get a pass. my buddy Scott Titton, who's written the Star Trek Vault book, if you are indeed a Trekkie fan, and he's written Star Trek comics, and he was actually the one who introduced me to Kevin Smith when he started that pop culture website, Movie Poop Shoot, which was based out of one of his movies. And I was the wrestling guy, and I wrote the Kentucky Fried Rasslin column. So, that's how that all started. And even that was sort of a mistake. I mean, I didn't know that I was signing on to be a weekly columnist. They asked me to review Jerry Jarrett's first TNA show, the pay-per-view.
Right.
And I said, if you'll pay for it, I'll do it, and buy me lunch. And that was our deal, I think. And I named that particular article Kentucky Fried Wrestling because it was like, a Southern approach to a would-be national promotion. And then Kurt Hennig died, I think 3 or 4 days later, and they said, would you write something about Kurt? And I said, yeah, sure. And then suddenly I had a masthead that said Kentucky Fried Wrestling, which promptly got me nearly sued by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Within 3 or 4 weeks, they sent me a cease and desist.
No way.
Yes. I mean, because that website, it had some heavy hitters. Miramax was funding the website. And so people who had never even known, Kevin Smith gave me a great compliment one time when he was asked about the site. He said, we've got people who write columns, and a lot of them actually work in the field, or they've done a lot of reading. They're experts in the field of whatever entertainment it is, and we've got something there for everybody. We've got a wrestling column. I hate pro wrestling, but I read this guy's column every week, which I thought, I thought that was pretty well, because a lot of people don't know the story. Well, I think I think now the history of Memphis is started to spread, and it's got a little bit more of a cult following thanks to YouTube. But you're right. Tape traders in America, they knew about Memphis wrestling. And, I was talking with Dave Milliken, the Ace belt maker, and
right.
I love I'm a huge belt mark, and Dave said something similar to what you said. Unless you grew up with it, you don't quite understand, and that's true to an extent. But over the last few days, I hosted a 4-hour 605 Super podcast tribute to Lance with people from all over the country. And then some people who had met Lance, some hadn't. You only had to just be a fan of the show wherever you were, even if you just got the tape and watched it. Now, maybe it's hurting us a little bit more, but make no mistake about it. They're grieving too, because.
Oh yeah, I get that. I just think that here's what me and you experienced, that if you didn't live in this area that other people didn't. When you were on the playground as a kid, we weren't running around playing anything but wrestling. We wanted to be Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Jimmy Valiant. I remember, this is so silly, but I remember when Valiant turned.
Which time?
Well, I don't know. He turned, okay, so I become a huge fan of his, because I always thought Jimmy played around too much. That was my mind, that he played around. I wasn't a huge fan of his. So I actually made a tattoo on my arm, and in my 7th grade, so this was in 6th grade, librarian asked me why I marked on myself, and I was appalled that she didn't know who the hell Handsome Jimmy Valiant was. All my friends knew who it was, but she didn't know, and I was really pissed about that. But I think that's the part that I always say, well, people are just, they just wouldn't get it unless they really. But you're right, there has been so many people that's reached out to me and said something about the podcast we did about how, I put together some stuff, and we talked a little bit with a couple of my friends, and it just, astonishing that people from my age to, 20 years worth of, that really got it. Okay, man, we're going to take a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and talk about some new stuff instead of some old stuff. So. Hey, I hope everyone's enjoying this episode of Shootin The Shiznit. What I want you to do is join us this Thursday. That's right, this Thursday for the Cool Kids Countdown, the special edition. Yes, I will be joined by my regular co-host there, Lance Levine, as we count down. Well, you'll just have to wait till Thursday. What? That's right, wait till this Thursday for the Cool Kids Countdown. Well, I kind of lied. I still have a couple of old questions to ask you, but one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, Scott, me and you kind of knew each other forever, corresponded back and forth, and I think one of the last times I talked to you actually through email was when Guy Coffey died, which is, I'm going to try not to make it so long to correspond with you so we don't wait around till someone dies to talk to each other.
Sure.
You was on Facebook, and I seen you went to No Mercy, so I was like, man, I got to get Scott on. Does he still watch the product? And that's the reason I do this podcast. Either it's somebody I've known for a long time or somebody I kind of know, and I just want to shoot the shit with them. And so I seen you with the Jerry, and you had a picture with Jerry backstage. But are you still a fan of the product?
I am to an extent. I don't go out of my way to watch WWE. One thing I do love about today's product, the clean finishes. A heel. They finally realized that a babyface can lose clean, and it won't hurt him too bad. Depending on how it's done and how the story is told. I think Lawler, especially for a guy who was on top, has a baby face for so long in his own. I don't know. Can you imagine Dusty Rhodes doing the number of jobs that Lawler did for people? Michael Hayes likes to joke, if you ever went through Memphis, you lost to Jerry Lawler. Well, yeah, that's true. But more than likely, if they thought you could draw money, you would get 2 or 3 wins over Lawler before he won the finale, the blow-off.
People want to know why Lawler was the top babyface for so long is that Lawler sold. Not only did he sell during the match, but he sold match per match. So it wasn't like you were, let's do wrestling psychology. He did a program of psychology where the heel really got over on him, over and over and over until he made his comeback. And boom, you knew it was going to happen. You wanted to be there.
Well, and I think Jerry also gave some thought to the matter that he knows how it feels like when his Cleveland Browns lose, like a playoff game. And by now, I'm sure he's certainly used to them losing. Sorry about that, King, if you're listening to this. But he understands that mentality. Sometimes when your team is struggling and they're losing, sometimes that makes them more endearing and it makes you rally around them. I remember when Bam Bigelow came through, and I love that guy.
I did too, yeah.
And really, Memphis was the only promotion that I thought used him correctly. I mean, that guy shouldn't be in a well-made, flame-covered suit. I mean, I love that it looked like it was made in his basement, and it just and on the back it said "I am Monster." And I love that. And he was such a natural athlete for such a big guy. And I remember Lawler lost like 3 straight to this kid. And he gave this interview where he was talking about this old couple at ringside, and they asked him, Jerry, is this the guy? And he explained to Lance that he told them one time that when he was just starting out as a wrestler, that he saw an old-timer who was lacing up his boots for the last time. And Jerry, as a young rookie starting out, asked the guy, excuse me, I'm just curious, how will you know when it's time to retire? And he said that the old-timer looked at him and said, someone will come along one day and let you know. And Bam Bigelow very well could be my guy. And man, oh man, I get goosebumps right now, thinking about that promo.
But you don't watch it every week. You just went down. Lawler was able to get you backstage?
No. Oh, heck no. If I asked Lawler for tickets, he would come through, but I would be in the nosebleed section. And if I had any ideas about getting backstage, he wouldn't answer my calls. No,
I knew the answer to that before I asked you about
it. No. He actually got my text, and I said, where are you? And he goes, what do you mean, where am I? I'm backstage at Staples. I said, yeah, I'm in catering. I'm looking for you. He goes, what the hell are you doing in catering? I thought he was going to call security. Now, my wife is in the music business, and one of her clients is a guy named Miles Kane, who's one of the Last Shadow Puppets with Alex Turner, who's a part of the Arctic Monkeys, who my wife also helps manage here in the States. And Miles is a huge wrestling fan. And he hooked up with Finn Balor, because Miles is really well known in the UK, not so much here in the States.
Oh, okay.
And they got to talking. So Finn Balor's the one who got us backstage. And talk about a nice kid. Just so humble, so friendly, and actually he had a hell of a performance that night, I thought.
Right. Yeah, you got a pretty good show there. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible kind of thing. Okay, so you're a writer. You live out in California, and big wrestling fan. I've got to ask, and I know you've had to have done this. You had to have at least applied for as a writer.
Oh yes, for WWE.
Yes, sir.
I did, and supposedly Lawler was going to put in a word. I look back on it, that may have been the worst thing I could have done to call Lawler, because Jerry's. I mean, Jerry and I get along great, and when he came back to catering, we sat through the entire Roman Reigns John Cena match and just shooting the breeze. And last time I was in town, I inducted Jim Cornette into the manager.
Right.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
And that was such a huge deal, and very special to me, because I've grown to get to know Jimmy, and obviously I blatantly ripped him off when I was working in Memphis. But yeah, Lawler's just he's a good guy, but he kind of, he kind of works me sometimes. He'll answer the phone like, Scott Bowden, jeez.
Right. Yeah. Lawler's, I don't know. I think best way to say it, kind of still that old school mentality where he's trying to, protect his spot, where if he recommends you and you really screw up, then he don't want his name associated, because I know friends that went to the WWE and worked there and knew Lawler and worked for Lawler, and he just never would just reach out and give them a high recommendation.
Well, I think the deal is, I think Kevin tried to explain, his son Kevin tried to explain to me that he wants it to be his idea. Like I don't think he liked it that I'd already applied and sent it off.
Right. You didn't say something to him afterwards. Yeah, that's possibly it.
Yeah, but I did get a thing back. My application and everything. It was sent back to me about 6 months later, and it had all my USW. Not too many people have Jerry Lawler as a reference on their resume, and I put all that stuff on there. All that stuff was circled and then written in big letters. Show to Steph. But that probably hurt me, actually, that I actually had a background in wrestling experience. But
there you go. That could have been it. Yeah. They said, we don't want. He's from and also from the Memphis area, so you should have just, your stint as a manager, it wasn't that long, was it? How many years were you from the time you did the referee turn?
Yeah.
Right? That's when you turned heel, and then you came out and did the big interview. But I was I'm trying to find, I went for almost 12 years from 78 to, 78 until the 90s sometimes, maybe more than 12 years. I'd missed 2 or 3 wrestling shows, but as soon as you debuted, I said, I'm going to quit watching wrestling. Now, during the time you were there, I was doing something else in my life. I was a restaurant manager, and I try to record it every week, and I try to watch it, but and I missed a lot of stuff, especially the Cornette stuff in Power Pro and all that. But I went back and tried to grab some things that I remembered. But I was trying to place the years that you were there, and you ended up being Lawler's manager as a heel too. Lawler was a heel, right?
Yeah. I guess it just got to the point it was just ridiculous, because he was so vile on WWE television, and there was a time limit on the way that you could get away with. Yeah, they just hate me up there because I'm a Southerner.
Right,
they're a bunch of Yankees, because he was just vile to everybody. So eventually, they had to do something. So he turned heel, and he thought, who better to solidify the heel turn than to put me with him as his manager. And boy, I mean, I remember getting that phone call, and I was just thrilled, to join the company of, Mickey Poole and Sam Bass.
And Jimmy Hart.
Well, maybe not Mickey Poole, but I did say to Jerry, I said, Jerry, I really want to do it, but I don't want to go out there and just stand next to you. Look, you're the best wrestling promo probably of all time. But I got to have a little something to say. And he's like, all right, just don't go on and on. And I said, okay, all right. So we.
What? You go on? You
never. Yeah. Well, Randy Hales would try to keep me off TV.
Okay, so we're going to stop right here. I've got a question. This is one of my favorite interviews ever. And I know I've been knowing Randy forever. When I moved back to Jonesboro, I called him. My daughter needed a job. He got her a job. Boom. One of the nicest guys ever to me around the business. And I'm just going to say this because I'm an odd-looking guy too, so I can say that I can get away with this. You're like handsome Scott Bowden or something. You can't get away with saying stuff like this. But Randy's an odd-looking guy. He really is, and the first time I saw he come out from under the camera because he always did the Jackson, or the Mid-South Coliseum, the first 3 or 4 matches he commentated.
Yeah.
And then I finally got to see him on the Jackson version. And I was like, man, this guy looks strange. I love listening to his commentary, but he's a strange looking guy. And on TV, he was always strange. My favorite interview that you ever did was the one where you called him retarded.
Yeah.
As long as you'll do that, you may have your say. Don't start on that football.
Hey, don't cut me up again, Dave Brown. You've been rude to me all day. You know why Randy Hales doesn't have the authority to suspend Jerry Lawler? Have you ever wondered that? Why Randy Hales never makes a decision? Have you ever wondered that, Dave Brown?
He makes decisions.
Oh, no, he doesn't. You know why? Because he's nothing more than a figurehead. That's because he's partially retarded, Dave Brown. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
Don't start with that stuff.
I didn't know if you were aware of that, but Randy Hales is partially retarded. Dave Brown, have you ever seen the look on a wrestler's face when he wins a big match? He's grinning from ear to ear, and he's jumping up and down. Have you ever seen that look? That's the same thing that Randy Hales does whenever he forms a complete sentence. He's an idiot. He's legitimate. Hey, let me tell you something. He does not have the power to make a decision out here. So come on out here, boy, because you can't suspend me either, because I'll slap you around. Evidently, you don't have the authority, you stinking redneck from Jonesboro. The reason why nobody ever knew he was retarded, because he lives in Jonesboro.
Don't say that again.
And nobody notices, because everybody in Jonesboro is retarded.
Come on, Scott. All right, you get ready to get cut off one more time here, because we're not going to put up on this. Come out here and talk about Randy Hales. You've got there are matches coming up this week.
He even has a job here in the USWA because you think, well, he's retarded, so why they have him around? Well, many years ago.
Quit using that word.
Many years ago, Eddie Martin was going through Jonesboro, and he met up with a little wrestling groupie, and now Randy Hales is the illegitimate son.
Now, stop. That's it right there. I've had it. Not going to listen to any more of this. That is it. I told you, you come out here and you talk about...
That heat with Dave Brown. like the heat was still there until about
You're
2 or 3.
You're kidding, right?
No, until about 2 or 3 days ago. And he sent me I wrote, man, I was like, I'm not even kidding you, man. I had like teardrops like falling on my keyboard. I was writing this tribute to Lance, and somehow he found it and read it and sent me a really nice note. So now you're going to stir shit up again, but go ahead.
Well, you went out there, and this, like I said, I'm going to play it at the very end. It is my favorite interview. And Dave is, I guess now I know, Dave was for shoot pissed at the time, but Dave is fantastic here. And you're talking about Randy, and he looks retarded, and that's the reason, blah, blah, blah. And then Randy runs out, and you get this big pop, from the studio audience. But did you grab Randy to the side and say, look, I'm going out there, and I'm fixing to say you look retarded?
Oh.
Or did you just say, say that and just go out with it? Or was it planned? Was it one of those things where... No. Because one thing I quickly learned in being a manager,
I said something like it was my second or third interview, and I said something about, Jerry Lawler, the only reason you're not over the hill is because he never climbed it in the first place. Ooh. Well, I got backstage, and he's like, "Oh, so I'm just old, huh? I mean, why didn't you just, tell everybody how old I am and tell them that Brian's my son and the whole thing?" And it's sort of, and I read something too where Bobby Heenan was talking about, if I go out there and I run down Vern Gagne as a bald-headed, old bastard who, can't lace up Nick Bockwinkel shoes, I mean, there might, boots, but there might be a hint of truth to that. Yeah, he is old and everything. So Bobby would he would never talk about Vern's age.
Right.
Or not overdo it.
Well, you have to put your opponent over.
Yes.
Because if you don't put your opponent over and you beat him, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
If you beat him, then it means something. Yeah.
Right. And Randy, I'm like with you. First of all, I think Randy has worked very hard to get into the business, and obviously loves it. And actually, I went to Memphis even before the Hall of Fame induction, and met him, and saw that he was working, and he actually took me to dinner that night, and we had a great conversation. But but I think Randy is aware of how awkward he can come across, and how awkward his speech is. I mean, you don't grow up in a small town without people pointing that out to you. So he actually told me to call him retarded.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Because I think he thought that some people out there probably thought he had some kind of disability, which boggles the mind that you would put that guy on the microphone. I mean, let him do anything you want behind the scenes, but no, why would you put him on the microphone? One of the greatest moments in Mid-South Coliseum history, Randy Savage pile driving Ricky Morton through the table. We don't have Lance calling it, but we have
we don't.
We have Randy Hales. Oh my God!
Yes.
Oh my God! But I would love to have heard Lance's call of that. But at any rate, but Randy, I do know that Randy worked really hard at being an announcer, and he did, slowly improve. But yeah, that was his idea. And when Dave got so worked up the first time I said it, I thought, hey, I thought we were dancing, baby.
Right.
I thought we were working. And he's like, don't say that word again. I said, what's that word, Dave? Retarded? Huh? And I was like, the only reason nobody ever noticed is because he's from Jonesboro and
Arkansas. Yes. Oh, I'm going to play that. And because I'm from this area, and at the time I knew Randy. I had met Randy many times. He was at the Jonesboro show, and I always was, either I went through the dressing room, or if Lawler was there, I was usually there talking to Jerry. And Randy always knew me, so it was just one of those things, and it's just my favorite interview ever did. We're closing in on 30 minutes, so there's a couple of things I want to cover. Here's a real obscure reference to something you did. And I remember when this interview was done, and I laughed, and I asked people if there was really something to what Jerry said. And you're probably not even going to know it, and I remember this. I don't remember where I put that ink pen I just used, but you were managing Lawler, and y'all were feuding with Wolfie D. Mm-hmm. And Wolfie D had the mask on. Yeah. And what was his gimmick? I can't remember.
Cyberpunk Fire, I think.
Yeah, it's Cyberpunk Fire. And y'all were doing that deal where Lawler was going to give him like $5,000 for the mask or something like that. Yeah. And Lawler looks out to the crowd and yells, he says, Wolfie, you better tell your skinny leg girlfriends goodbye. And I cracked up at that, and I always wondered, did Wolfie D really have a skinny leg girlfriend? So you can tell me, Scott.
That's the question that you're dying to know. You know what? I don't remember. I do know.
Ah, shit. I brought you all the way from California to St. Louis, Missouri to do this.
I do know that when he got in, he found me, I think, through the column or something, and sent me an email, which I was startled that he knew how to operate a computer. But I'm just there. But we became Facebook friends, and I saw that he got engaged, and people were like sending their well wishes, and I wrote, "It'll never last." And his girlfriend, or fiance, whoever was, boy, she got so hot. I had so much heat. He goes, dude, nothing personal. I got to defriend you.
That's bad when you're not friends with somebody on Facebook because of, stuff. But yeah, I know. Obscure as it was something that I thought was just hilarious, and always a big fan of you coming. Like you said, you borrowed some stuff from everyone, and we always was used to the manager that was going to get his ass whipped. Now, Jimmy Hart was that guy. Heyman kind of kept himself for the big moment when they got to him when he started becoming really popular. But you were that guy that you had that the helmet or whatever you used that week. That was we really always thought you were still going to be the one that got his ass whipped. So that was one of the. And on the microphone, I played Jimmy's first interview to my wife. And played your first interview that you did on Memphis Wrestling, and she could not believe that was the first interview you guys did.
Yeah.
Just a natural, and you could send me the money that you owe me after I get through. Did you? And I always wondered, was this something? I knew you grew up watching wrestling, but did you say, "Hey, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do," and you practiced, or did you just? Was it just you being a natural?
Actually, there is a story to that. My friends and I, we participated in backyard wrestling, but we were never jumping off roofs or doing any of that crazy stuff. We just always, we were cutting promos on each other. We were in the territory with the greatest wrestling announcer of all time, Lance Russell, the greatest promo guy ever, Jerry Lawler, handsome Jimmy Valiant, Austin Idol, Dutch Mantell, Dream Machine, all these guys who could cut promos. So we would, that was our big thing. We were cutting promos back and forth. And, I hung out with a pretty quick-witted crowd. And so when this thing all happened, and I did the deal with kicking Lawler in the back of the head, putting Eddie on top, they didn't really have a plan for me. And I get the TV set, but I thought I'm going there thinking I'm the new heel manager. So I like got starched polo button down and khakis.
Right.
I'm wearing I'm wearing my fraternity pin, I think, and the whole deal. And they tell me that I'm supposed to go out there and apologize for what I did. And that eventually Lance is going to give me the news that it's apology too little too late, my young man, you're fired. And then Eddie Gilbert's going to come out and hire me to be his manager. Well, that wasn't what I had in mind, because the deal was, in a couple of weeks you're going to screw up because you don't know anything about managing, and the heels will beat you up, and then we'll bring you back in like 2 weeks, and you'll be a referee again. And I was like, well, you know what? This is live TV. I've been practicing heel interviews all my life. What's the word? What can they do? And so I went out there, and Lance luckily set the tone for me, because when I walked through that curtain, he goes, "That young man has got a lot to learn right now," and it just flowed from there. And he, of course, he carried me like a baby. But it felt so natural. It felt like I'd been doing it my whole life, because in a way I had been.
Right. It just was. That's the thing you have really in common with Jimmy's first interviews. Actually, WWE guys need to. We don't have to script it. Let's just, but that's Jimmy too. All right. So before we get off here, it's not, your podcast is not in the Wrestling Right, network, but I'll let you put it over. Tell us, you're going to do Country Fried Rasslin as a podcast, right?
That's right. I was a guest on Cornette's show that's produced by Brian Last, and Austin Idol. It was the recent anniversary of the hair match, and that goes to show you just how amazing people remember Memphis Wrestling, or maybe didn't know about Memphis Wrestling back in 1987, but discovered it years later and saw the whole hair match thing,
right,
and couldn't believe the heels had that much heat and had to wait 30 minutes, for the reinforcements to arrive to surround them to walk out the ring, and then the crowd still rushed them. And then, so I tweeted that at like midnight. I just happened to think, oh man, there's the anniversary. And I tweeted, I think, the interview where Lance goes in to the back, and Lance is all fired up going, you guys have been planning this? And Idol's like, well, of course we've been planning this, you idiot. So Idol had me on his show because, it ended up, Paul Heyman retweeted it. And so for I woke up at 5 a.m. and looked, and I was trending just because my dad called from Florida and he goes, what have you done? I'm like, Dad, it's all right. It's just a wrestling thing. But I guess Brian liked the way I told stories about Memphis Wrestling on Idol Show and on Cornets, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. And we taped our first one. I've already kind of blown the secret because I mentioned it the other day in my column, but we wanted to start off big, so we got Jerry Jarrett, and it turned out to be it's kind of like this. It's just a great conversation about wrestling. It's
awesome. I can't wait to hear it. Me and you both been such fans, and that's the main thing. Is as soon as I saw that you were going to do it, and I always plugged your columns. And when you did Kentucky Fried Rasslin, I was doing the website, and I was like, hey, this is unfortunately, there's 4 or 5 podcasts I listen to, and the reason what got me going doing this podcast, actually, funny thing, was Brian Lass, because his podcast was so long, I was like, listen to it like 4 or 5 days. It took me 5 days to get it.
Sure, yeah.
And I'd had a couple of my friends say, why don't you go ahead and do your podcast again? It's been 6 years, blah, blah, blah. And I said, man, my attention span's 30 minutes or 40 minutes. It's not 4 hours. And my wife says, well, don't do 4 hours. Do 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So he kind of had the creation of me coming back doing my podcast. So good luck on that. Like I said, I'll be a listener, and I hope, the guys that listen to my podcast are also Memphis fans. So they'll reach out and listen to it. I hope you get, all the good press you can. As soon as you do a bad show, you have someone horrible on there that I dislike, I'll let you know. So I'll make sure to tweet that every time.
Well, I can't imagine that happening. Maybe, you know what, though? We did talk to Randy Hales about coming on. So maybe we'll go.
Randy, we both really do like you. He does listen to an episode every once in a while. We want to know we both really like you, but we have fun. Here's also, before I get you off here and say goodbye, we recently did a top 10 managers episode, and I failed to mention 2 of my favorite managers from Memphis, and one was you, so there's a personal apology, and another was Downtown Bruno. So I grouped you 2 guys together, so you know.
Well, thanks.
Maybe we'll have you on sometime just to talk about Downtown Bruno. There you go.
I love Bruno. I really do.
I do too. Absolutely. We'll have him on sometimes, but just a super, super nice guy. So,
yeah.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You have a great day. Hey, everyone, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll be back here next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel, on the best little wrestling podcast.
If you beat him.
In the business.
If I beat him, I'm going to beat him.
50 of them.
But by the same token, if he should end up winning the match, you have to stand in the middle of the ring and pull your mask off.
You know what? And when the world sees that it's who I say it is, it's Wolfie D, it's Kelly Wolf, who lost to Loser Lee the USWA match and wasn't a man of his word, still welched on it, still showed up here with that funny-looking little Power Ranger outfit on, then you're going to have to kiss all your little skinny-legged girlfriends goodbye over there and hit the trail. What about it? $5,000 cash against that silly little mask.
You know what? I've beat you once, and I'm sure I can do it again. Because last week you came in there thinking it was going to be a big joke, didn't you? You laughed and made all kinds of funny Power Ranger jokes. Well, let me tell you something. This week, the last week in the Coliseum, this Power Ranger...